Hello, Mark from Sound Matters here. Welcome back to the channel, talking all things vinyl as always. I want to talk about record stores and record fairs today, kind of just inspired by some of my experiences over the past weekend. I accidentally stumbled across a record fair over the weekend, which is always a really nice surprise, but I don't think I talk about this enough on the channel. I talk a lot about the hobby and kind of stuff we do, in terms of the record collecting hobby back at home, but I don't often talk that much about getting out there and actually getting the records, actually discovering the music. And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. It's about the music. So I need to do more of that on the channel. I think that starts today. So I'm going to share my experience at the record store over the weekend and also the record fair that I went to. And then I want to put it out there to you to share your experiences with record stores. What's your favourite record store? What makes a great record store? What makes a good record fair? And what are the pros and cons to each way of discovering new records? So I went over to Letchworth with my family, which is a town not too far away from us. Don't live there, but it's a drivable distance. And it's one of the record stores, it has one of the record stores that I frequent quite regularly. It's called David's Music. It's also a bookshop and a cafe, which is a really nice mix, I think. But whenever we're over that way, I try to pop into David's Music. It's a really great record store, particularly for used records, though I do find the prices a little bit sometimes on the high side for the condition of some of the records. But that aside, I think the service is great. They're fantastic. The team in there seem to be really enthusiastic about what they're doing, and I always like and enjoy to pop my nose in there and have a little browse. They do new records as well, of course, and there's a pretty good selection in there and a nice relaxed atmosphere. So I started my browsing at the used record section and came across a record by 10 Years After that I remember very fondly from my dad's record collection and I really love. So it was only £15. I thought, okay, this seems like it's probably worth a punt. So I take it up to the counter and ask to see the condition of the record. The record store in question typically keep most of their records behind the counter in separate sleeves. So she pulls the record out of the sleeve, I give it a bit of an inspection, and there are some signs that it was, reasonably well loved. It didn't look absolutely terrible, but there were some reasonable surface scuffs, some of them of which you could say were just scuffs, other ones might be a bit deeper and might leave some surface noise, scratching sounds. And also there was some wear around the spindle hole where you could see they'd missed the spindle a few times, and there's that telltale sign that they've maybe not been too careful placing it down on the turntable. So I was a bit borderline as to whether I would go with this, but then very kindly the lady behind the record store offered to preview the disc for me on the turntable behind the counter. I think this is a really good sign of a good record store if they're willing to take the time of day for you so you can actually hear it for yourself. Some record stores, of course, will have separate listening stations with headphones so you can really preview a disc before you buy it. But of course, another thing you should look out for, I think, is a really good return policy, which David's Music are really good about. They give you, I think, at least 15 days to check out the records and return them. So yeah, I listened to this record, previewed it. I can hear that there's some surface noise straight away, but I don't worry about that so much because it may well clean up pretty well. But that telltale sign that it's actually scratches is obviously that repeating click as you rotate the record, of which straight away I could hear it. So I decided to pass on this occasion, but I really appreciated the staff taking the time of day, humouring me and allowing me to preview the disc. But she took it one step further, which I think makes things even better. She said to me, "Did you know there's a record fair on in the town today?" I said, "No, I had no idea." She said they didn't really advertise it particularly well. I thought it was really good of the record store to actually basically send some of their business potentially elsewhere. But of course, I think people who love music understand and want to spread the word about these things. So I head on down to this record fair and I was really impressed for the size of it. It was a very small, compact record fair, but with a really nice broad range on offer, several different suppliers offering a different perspective on record collecting. So you get a nice broad mix of styles, genres and eras. But I generally find this about record fairs, because you've got that mix in there, you do get a broader, more diverse collection of stuff to look at, even with very small fairs like the one I'm talking about today. Of course, if you go to a very, very big fair, then this is a no-brainer. Of course, there's going to be a broad selection on offer there, or at least you'd hope to. But I also find that the prices are often more fair as well. You know, some record stores I do think kind of overpriced, but I get that they've got the overhead, of course, of running an actual physical location. So I understand that. So I think, you know, record fairs find it easier to perhaps, you know, maybe not have to charge quite so high prices to cover for some of those overheads. You know, maybe I've got that wrong. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But that's just my experience. But as I say, I also find that you get a broader range of stuff. Most record stores I go to, at least, the ones in my area, I find you get a really good selection of older records from like the 60s and the 70s, sometimes into the 80s as well. And you get a really nice selection of new records. But there's very often a gap in between. And I guess this kind of makes sense because a lot of the people handing their collections over into record stores are often going to be people who maybe sadly aren't with us anymore, or maybe have decided to get rid of their collections, have downsized, they've maybe, you know, decided that they, I don't know, they've gotten older and want to move away from that and they're less bothered anymore. And you would expect, I suppose, to find less stuff that's of newer decades and eras of music, because those people probably, on the whole, probably still have those records. And that speaks to the first record that I picked up at the record fair, which is this 12-inch single by the Red Hot Chili Peppers from 1991 of the track Breaking the Girl from the album Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which is my favourite era of this band. I'm not so keen on some of the very newer albums that they've released in the last couple of years or so, but I really like the 90s Red Hot Chili Peppers and a lot of the 80s Red Hot Chili Peppers as well. I know that this band divides opinions. It seems to be a bit of a Marmite band with a lot of people, but I really love the stuff in this era in particular, and I think this is kind of the golden era of John Frusciante's guitar playing as well. John Frusciante being one of my favourite musicians ever, really. So it's a nice piece to find something like this, because I just wouldn't have normally come across a 12-inch single from the 90s like this in most record stores that I go to. And it has a nice B-side on it that I won't say the name of because it's a little explicit, but obviously it's a previously unreleased track at the time. Really nice funky instrumental track, and it's got a couple of live tracks on the B-side as well. So I thought, you know what, it was £15. I thought I'll have that for £15 because I won't probably come across that again unless I go searching on Discogs. So that little serendipitous moment was nice at the record fair. That was the first thing that I picked up. Second thing I picked up was a nice copy of Rubber Soul by the Beatles. I'm slowly just expanding my collection of Beatles records. This isn't a first pressing or anything like that. It's actually a third UK pressing, I believe, from 1971, but it's a really nice, clean copy. I find often it's quite difficult to get. I love to get originals, I really do. I really do love to get an original copy, but it's often quite difficult, particularly with Beatles records, because kids often had, I guess, pretty bad record players or didn't look after or change their stylus very often. It's very often very difficult to get those first pressings in very good condition without significant groove wear. So this is a really nice clean copy. I probably will continue to look for a first pressing, but I'll be very choosy about which one I pick up. But immediately, just looking at the record whilst I was there, I could see that this actually didn't look like it had been played all that often. So I jumped on that. There is a slight issue where the cover here needs resealing. I'll just use some 3M tape to do that. I've done a kind of series on that, or a video on this on the past, about split seams and how to fix them. For American style seams, there's a really nice product called Seams Easy, which is great, where you've got a seam that comes apart like that, but where you've got UK ones where they fold over, where there's a seam that folds, I find that just 3M double-sided tape is the easiest, quickest and most secure way to fix those types of issues. So that's an easy fix and didn't put me off picking up that record. Now on to the third one, which is a little bit of a... I just picked this up on a whim, really. It's actually a compilation disc. It's Albatross, Fleetwood Mac and Christine Perfect. And this is a bit of a throwaway CBS cash grab, if you like, from the 1970s, 1977 to be specific. And of course, because of the success of the Buckingham Nicks era Fleetwood Mac, I think they were just looking through back catalogue and how they can maybe get a bit of a money spinner off the back of this. But I just thought it's something to throw on a Friday night. It was only £5. I thought, yeah, why not? Saw it, I'll have that. And I quite like the fact that it's got some tracks from the Peter Green era Fleetwood Mac, but also from Christine McVie, or Christine Perfect as she was known back then, her first solo record as well. That's on the B side, and then the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac stuff is on the A side. So I thought, you know what, that's good Friday night fobber. Friday night fobber. I can't speak today. So yeah, I thought that was worth just throwing into the collection. We'll probably just, casual listening sessions on a Friday with a few drinks, a couple of beers or a glass of wine or whatever. I thought that's a nice record just to throw on, not for critical listening or anything like that, but just it's worth having some of those things in your collection. So those were my limited finds I just wanted to share with you today. I could have spent all afternoon in that place, but it would have ruined me financially in the process. Fortunately, we had the girls with us, and that limited the time I could spend browsing, but I really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to share with you the experience I had today so that we can share this experience. And I think, really just the serendipity of record collecting is what I really want to come across and get across here and share that experience with you and hear your experiences and some of the record fairs that you've gone to, and any tips you have and any experiences you can share back with me as well. But it's over to you now. I want to hear your experiences. What's your favourite record store? What makes it great? What great record fairs have you been to? What made those great too? And which way do you prefer to discover records? Do you have a preference? Do you find there's just pros and cons to each? Let's put that over to you guys down in the comments. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. If you're new to this channel, guys, please do consider subscribing. You can also support this channel further, as always, using the discount codes in the description of this video. Or, if you'd like to support me even further, you could subscribe on Patreon for exclusive content each and every week. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, guys. But until then, keep enjoying the music and keep spinning. See ya. Bye.